What's up guys, Geekay here back with another video. So today I'm going to continue talking about MOSFET mods, especially MOSFET squonk mods. So this is a continuation from my first video where I showed you what happened when one of my MOSFET mods, the Ubuntu 0 version 1, using the Bomber Reno MOSFET, just auto-fired, burned, and was completely utterly ruined. And you know, squonk mods, like this is a MOSFET mod right here. This is the Proteus Projects Malu, and it uses the Bomber Pro MOSFET. So when it comes to squonk mods, they are mechanical mods. Mechanical mods usually have a positive and a negative contact plates, and in order to actually fire, in order to pass the current through to your RDA and back to the battery, it is mechanical. Something has to move, and when you press the fire button, the contact actually moves, touches the 510 positive, it makes contact, the current goes through, and you can get a good vape that way. Those are mechanical mods. Now MOSFET mods, when I first heard of MOSFET mods, they were sold as a safer alternative to mechanical mods. Today I want to tell you that that is completely false. So what is MOSFET actually? Is an acronym of, it's two separate acronyms that people usually use together. You have FET, F-E-T, which is Field Effect Transistor, and then you have MOS, which is Metal Oxide Semiconductor. When you put them both together, it is a mouthful. It's MOSFET, is MOS, Metal Oxide Semiconductor Field Effect Transistor, right? It is a simple PCB board that you put inside your mod that helps. It acts like a gate to control and stop or turn on the voltage, the current from your battery to the RDA, etc. It is not a mechanical. Some people call it semi-mechanical, but my preferred term is unregulated, because other than the high-end squonk mods that have the MOSFET, those type of boards have been around in many different type of mods, tube mods, and simple mods, regular mods, etc. for a very long time. And a MOSFET, the concept of a MOSFET is actually used in many different applications. But when used in a squonk mod, it is especially very worrying, okay, because of the amount of liquid juice condensation there is in a squonk mod. Every time you over squonk, you know the juice just gets everywhere, right? So using a MOSFET in a squonk mod, there are a few things that you need to worry about and you need to know about. Ready? Let's talk about MOSFET mods, and are they safe? Now, most definitely MOSFET mods, or MOSFET itself, offers a layer of protection. With a mechanical mod, there is zero protection. If there is a short circuit in your RDA, the mechanical mod doesn't know and cannot tell you. As long as you press the button, the contact plates make contact, the current passes through. And obviously that can cause many problems with your battery, venting, etc. if there's a short circuit. Now with a mechanical mod as well, when you vape too long and the battery level goes very low, you can feel it, and that's how I usually feel with my Mac mods. You know, when it gets very underpowered, you know the battery voltage is low. But how low? Sometimes people, when they are desperate, they keep on trying to vape on it, pushing the battery way past the recommended voltage level in terms of how low it can go before charging it. So compared to a regular Mac mod, definitely MOSFETs have extra protection. The first level of protection is the amp limit most MOSFET mods have. So they have maybe a 40 amp, 50 amp limit, and that limits the amount of power they can actually go through to your RDA. The second form of protection is the low voltage. When your battery reaches a certain voltage, it could be 3.5, 3.7, whatever it is, depends on the MOSFET, and it will also not work anymore. So then you know that you have to charge your batteries. Short circuit protection also prevents your battery venting unnecessarily when there is some problem with your RDA, when the coil is touching the stainless steel cap, etc. That's one very common way of having a short circuit in your RDA, and that gives you another level of protection. Some MOSFET mods have a maximum firing time. So you have like 10 seconds or 12 seconds so you can press, right? I don't want to show you this because 12 seconds will most probably burn my cotton, right? So there is another, that level of protection actually helps you when if accidental button presses. For example, you put it in your bag, in your pocket, and the button is pressed for longer than 10 seconds, 12 seconds, it will cut off. Some MOSFETs have an on-off feature. This one, for example, using the Bomber Pro, it's a 3 clicks on or off. Right, now it's off. And 3 clicks on. And you see the LED flashing. And now it's on. So that of course gives you another level of protection when you want to put the mod in your pocket. For those of you who like to wear tight jeans. And one of the more common protections across all MOSFETs is reverse polarity protection. And that basically means when your battery is the wrong way, it will not work. Or at least that's how it should be, right? And usually for MOSFET mods, the positive is up. It depends on how it is wired, but for most, I would say 75%, the positive is up because they wired it in such a way that requires minimum amount of wiring. But for any given MOSFET mod, there should be some indication on which side the positive and negative is. So if you put it the wrong way, by right, it should not work at all. However, and this is one of the things I want to talk about, I found that most of the MOSFETs don't actually have reverse polarity protection. So like I said, I don't want to just say stuff without showing you what I mean. So I've done a test now and I've taken up all my MOSFET mods that I have. Some of these are Bomber Pro, Bomberino, SwitchFET, ClickFET, and some are custom MOSFETs. Custom MOSFETs simply mean they are designed by the modder himself, and these MOSFETs are used specifically for those mods and not available for purchase if you want to make your own mods, etc. Alright, so I set up a test with all the MOSFET mods I have. The first, as you can see here, is the Punto Zero version 2, uses the Bomber Pro. The second is the 67 mods NeoFET Ultim, uses a custom MOSFET. The third is a Limelight Bliss, uses also a custom MOSFET. And I think the Limelight Gloom, Gloom Temp, Gloom, Stabwood, Walnut versions, etc. should all be using the same MOSFET, and this is not the latest RAM MOSFET. And then the purple mod that you see there is a Cloud Laboratory X mod that I built myself. If you want to build something like that, check my DIY series. This is an older version that uses the SwitchFET version 2.5, and then you have the Wismec Luxottic that uses, I don't know, an unknown custom MOSFET. Let's call it a Wismec custom MOSFET. And the last one is also an X mod, and this is a newer one that I built, and this uses the latest ClickFET by ModMaker, and I did all the tests with only one RDA, which is the Hakuvena. So my method is very simple. I put on an RDA and then I put the battery the wrong way and see what happens. If these MOSFETs indeed do have reverse polarity protection, then it should not work at all, or an LED should flash giving you some kind of warning, etc. First up is the Punto Zero version 2 with the Bomber Pro MOSFET, and let's see what happens. Oh, fail on that one. And next we have the Limelight Bliss using a custom MOSFET. Let's see what happens here. Another fail on this when you put the battery the wrong way. It just fires up just like the Punto Zero version 2. That, my friend, is not reverse polarity protection. Next up we have the SwitchFET version 2.5 by Infiniohm. This one actually it's supposed to be positive side up, so I'm going to put positive side down and let's see what happens. And fail. Alright, next up is this sweet looking NeoFET Ultim mod. This is using a custom MOSFET that they developed for themselves. It's not an off-the-shelf solution. And this one again positive up, so I'm going to put positive down. Let's see what happens. There you go. Winner, winner, winner. Does not work at all. Doesn't have any LED indication, obviously, because it's not going to pass any current through for the LEDs to work, and it just does not work at all. Next up, you have the Wismag Luxotic. Let's put the battery the wrong way. Let's put the ribbon back and let's put the battery the wrong way again. And yes, this one, it just doesn't work as well. Again, another good reverse polarity protection. Now I have to warn you, don't try this at home if you are not ready to remove the batteries or remove the RDA very fast. And finally, we have this red mod here with the new switch fed by mod maker. And let's see what happens. Again, positive should be up, so I'm going to put it down. Another fail, another spectacular fail. Now that's a bit weird, isn't it? Most of these mods claim to have reverse polarity protection, and as you can see, most of them don't actually have any kind of reverse battery protection. Let's look at the marketing material when they sell these boards. The Bomber Pro, for example, clearly says here that one of the features is reverse polarity protection. The SwitchFat version 2.5 by Infiniohm again says reverse polarity protection. The new ClickFat, the website says reverse battery protection. Now, the closest explanation that I've got is that the reverse polarity protection actually means that it protects the board. That's right. It protects the board, not the user. Now that's like saying the airbags in your car. It's like selling someone a car and say, wow, we have the best airbag system in the world. And then you have an accident and you're in a coma and you're paralyzed. And then the insurance company tells you, well, actually the airbag is there to protect the engine, to protect the sound system. That's ridiculous. That's the most ridiculous explanation I've ever heard. All the features that listed for a MOSFET should be features affecting the user, not the board. I don't give a damn about the MOSFET board. If it needs to burn, if it needs to go out and smoke to protect my mod, to protect the batteries, and to protect me, I think that's what it should do. I think they should remove that reverse polarity protection. Either make it happen or remove it. As you've seen, some MOSFETs do actually have reverse battery protection. So if you don't have it, don't try to compete with those that do by making false statement. Liar, liar, pants on fire. Alright, so I've actually been in talks. By talks I mean chatting on FB Messenger with someone I trust their opinion and that I know don't mind sharing, because a lot of these people are very reserved and they know that I'm a reviewer and they don't want to tell me shit. Like, they just don't want to, and they try to tell me as little as possible. Proteus Projects, PP, George Sablayan. I know that he is reliable. He knows what he's doing. He's got a lot of information. So I did ask him a little bit deeper about the MOSFET, because he did use the Bomber Pro MOSFET in this little squonk mod right here. The Malu, which is one of my best squonk mods. So here's what he told me, right? He told me that out of the box, the Bomber Pro MOSFET has a 10% failure rate. 10% out of the box Bomber Pro MOSFETs fail. I've heard stories of it being 15% or 20%, but I don't have information on that. So George actually tests the failure rate before putting the Bomber Pro MOSFETs on the Malu squonk mod, right? The ones that fail are discarded, of course. But a lot of people, I think, who are using the Bomber Pro or other MOSFETs also have failure rates. I'm pretty sure. I don't know what they are. And of course, no one talks about them or actually discloses it. But a lot of people using the any kind of MOSFET and probably don't know how to test the stock that they have, or stock of MOSFETs that they have, to find out which ones are defective or very risky to use, and so they just put them into the mods. Now the thing with high-end vape mods is that most of the high-end ones, you don't really get that much of use, right? You buy a high-end vape mod, you take very good care of it, you don't abuse it, you don't make it into your daily beater, and then most of the time it's sitting pretty on the shelf somewhere, and then you sell it, you trade it for something else. The new owner uses it once, twice, he trades it again. So really it needs to go down a few hands before, a few owners before these problems with those failed MOSFETs actually show up. And then you hear about them, like in those forums, etc. Those are most probably the people who are actually using those MOSFET mods regularly and really putting the MOSFETs to the test. So when you buy a MOSFET, you never really know. You could be one of the 90% and there's no issues with your MOSFET board, or you could be one of the 10% and unfortunately the person who installed it, the model, didn't really understand that there could be a failure rate and didn't know how to test for it. So George from PP was saying that he got a shipment of 450 Bomber Pro MOSFETs, and out of it about 40 were defective and he just could not use them. So that comes to about slightly less than 10%. Now the failure rate is one thing, but the other thing is liquid moisture condensation. If you take a look at how the MOSFET is placed in a squonk mod, it's actually logically in the worst possible place, which is right underneath a bottom feeding RDA, sometimes right next to the tube system. This is one very good example. It makes it very easy because if the RDA was on this side, I can get used to it, but it's better if it's where my thumb is, right? It's just a shorter distance and it feels very good. But in that position, it's very risky. It's very prone to get a liquid to get onto the board, and all the wires, the soldering is right there underneath a bottom feeding RDA. Every single time you over squonk and the juice is going to seep, I don't care if it's 100% VG juice, somehow it will find its way through any tiny hole and get eventually to your 510, to your wires, and to the MOSFET as well. It's actually a pretty bad idea to put it in this position, but most people would want it in this position because it helps to get a certain kind of look. If the RDA was on the other side, then the squonk bottle will need to be here, and there will need to be a lot more wiring to get from the 510 to the MOSFET, and therefore it cannot be as compact as possible. Now, some mods have a side MOSFET button, and that one, it really depends on how it is inside, because a lot of these MOSFETs come with a switch, and usually the button is right above the switch. When you press the button, you're pressing the switch of the MOSFET. But it can also be configured. The ClickFET, for example, there is a buttonless version, so you can use your own switch and to control the on-off feature, the firing, etc. Now in that case, the button can be anywhere, and the board, the actual ClickFET board, can be at the bottom, at the side, wherever you want it to be, as long as you run the wires to the correct place. Right, so generally speaking, there is the firing button right below the RDA, the MOSFET right below the RDA, or the MOSFET somewhere at the side, at least the firing button somewhere at the side. But still is very close to the actual bottom feeding RDA. Now, if this was just a unregulated mod without a squonking feature, it's actually a bit safer because you're not worried about liquid having to pass through. There's so many places where the liquid can seep out. The 510, the bottom of your RDA, the squonk pin sometimes is not so well made. The tube where it goes into your bottle system, there's also some liquid coming out there. Squonk mods are messy. Alright, which brings me to the next thing I want to talk about. So if you have a MOSFET mod right now, how do you make it safe? Or how do you at least know that you're safe? There is the recommended usage, right? So for most MOSFETs, you cannot build below 0.2. The NeoFET, for example, the recommended is 0.3 and above, nothing below 0.3. So know the limits of the MOSFET and don't actually push the MOSFET beyond the limits. Now, if the 0.3 NeoFET, for example, if I put a 0.2 coil it still works. It still works, but it's not according to the recommendation, manufacturer recommendation. So do not build dangerously low. Do not build below the recommendation of the MOSFETs. The second is a trick that I learned from George Sublian from Proteus Projects, which is to liquid proof your MOSFET. Now, most MOSFET mods are not liquid proof, and I never really knew that until George mentioned it to me in our conversation. And then I checked a few of my MOSFETs, and true enough, it's not liquid proof. Now, most of these MOSFET boards have something called a conformal coating on the board itself. And from the manufacturer, it has the conformal coating on top. And that helps to prevent or protect it from dust and atmospheric moisture. Okay, atmospheric moisture. But if you have liquid actually pooling on top of it, or a liquid spill on it, it doesn't protect against that much moisture, especially sticky VG, high VG juices. It just sticks there and it's a pain to get it off. So it's a very simple trick, and George actually shared this with me because for the Malu squonk mods are liquid proofed. Now, the liquid proofing has to be done by the modder himself because it can only be done after you've soldered all the wires, etc., and then you liquid proof it by adding some kind of coating to prevent to make it resistant to juice, to liquid. So again, a lot of modders are not liquid proofing their MOSFETs. They are using it with the conformal coating. They solder it, they put it into a squonk mod, they sell it to you. Some of them, I think, don't even know that they need to liquid proof. Most certainly, I didn't know. I'm not a modder. I guess if you are a modder and making MOSFET mods, you should do some research to find out. And you will probably come to a conclusion that you need to liquid proof your mod, especially when it's a squonk mod. So George's trick is very easy, and this is actually something that he has already shared in the Proteus Projects group. So links to PPE Proteus Projects group, the people who made the Malu, will be in the description box below. They're coming up with a new RDA called a Fire. So this trick is very simple, and the good news is you can do it yourself. Now, the only problem is that you need to get access to the MOSFET, and it's sometimes a bit difficult to do. A lot of MOSFET mods are in there and they have a faceplate, and the faceplate is glued, and so unless you know step by step how to remove the faceplate, etc., it's a bit difficult to get access to the MOSFET. And in some mods, the Malu, for example, is very easy. So you can use this guide and maybe get someone to do it for you if you don't know how to actually do it yourself. So here's a video showing you how to do it. And basically, once you can get access to your MOSFET, in this case the Bomber Pro by Malu, by Proteus Projects, and mine, the version 1 of the Malu was not liquid proofed. Not version 1, sorry, the first batch was not liquid proofed. The second batch onwards, you don't have to do this because it has already been done by George and the team from Proteus Projects. So I had to do this myself. The guide, the PDF step-by-step guide is on the Proteus Projects group. I'm just going to show you how it works. So once you get everything off, and with the Malu it's easy because you can just pull off the top plate and you can see the Bomber Pro right there. It's not covered by anything. You can just see it. And you remove all the screws that you need to remove, and then you just gently pull out the Bomber Pro that is already soldered with these solid looking silver contacts and Kimber cable for the positive. And then all you have to do is use nail polish. That's all. According to George Sublian, nail polish is actually the cheapest and best solution to liquid proof your Bomber Pro or your MOSFET. According to him, he has tried silicone, a few types of gels, polyurethane, but he said nail polish is just the best option. And it's so easy because you can just go to 7-Eleven or something and get a simple cheap nail polish. Make sure it's a clear nail polish. And then all you have to do is, if you notice any dirt or liquid on your MOSFET, just get an alcohol wipe and just gently wipe it away, and then just lay on the nail polish, except on the switch or the actuator, any part that must move do not put nail polish. And I repeat, do not put nail polish on the button. So just a layer of nail polish at the top part or one or both sides of the MOSFET. Now, as I said, this should be done only after the wires have been soldered in, and that's why this process cannot be done by the people who make the MOSFET. It has to be done by the modder or by you. And then after the first coat has dried, you can put on another coat. I think 2 coats should be enough. This looks like a pretty thick nail polish. Now, does it actually work? Yeah, so according to Josh, it does, and I believe that it does. It's a simple solution. I've seen people have recommended stuff that I need to get on Amazon, you know, a kind of a spray. But of course, it's not as easy as just getting a nail polish and just using it. Plus, I can actually polish my nails later. So yeah, this video by Proteus Projects is to show you that it works. Right, and he actually just tries to destroy it by putting as much juice as he can on the Bomber Pro MOSFET itself, and it works. Right, obviously I'm not going to try that myself. I just don't have the balls to do something like that. But I believe what he says. Using nail polish, put nail polish and waterproof your MOSFETs. It's just so easy to do, very easy to do, as long as you can get access to your MOSFET. Now sometimes you can only get access to one part of the MOSFET, most probably the front part, like I can with my NeoFET. I did try to remove it completely. I got about 80% of the way and I just didn't know what to do next, and I didn't want to break anything. So I did actually put some nail polish on the front part of it. It's not perfect solution, but at least I got half the job done. Now, if you are thinking of getting a MOSFET mod, then ask the modder some questions. I find a lot of people rush into buying stuff and they don't know anything about it. And the modders, the people making these products, selling them on Facebook groups, do not put any kind of information at all other than the price and the body material and the board and the battery type. That's it. So you know, maybe you feel a bit pressured to X1 in time, etc. But if you know in advance that something is going to be sold in the group and it requires an X1, then before the time actually arrives, just contact the modder and ask them if first thing you can ask if to make sure it's hard hitting is how is the MOSFET soldered? Is it soldered with copper, or is it soldered with silver solder or pure silver contacts like the Malu, as you can see? And then also ask them if they have liquid proof their MOSFET. All these things are going to help to save a lot of headache. I know a lot of people don't ask anything and they just X1 and just buy and just use and until it just auto fires and it just burns. Now the best safety advice I've come to this conclusion that I can give you about MOSFET mods is to treat it exactly like a mechanical mod. Exactly like a mechanical mod. So the MOSFET features say 5 clicks, 3 clicks on and off, 5 clicks to deactivate the LED. You don't like the LED? No problem. You don't have to see the LED. Yeah, I don't give a damn about that right now. 3 clicks on and off, I really don't care. When I'm not using the MOSFET mod, I loosen the battery cap, right? I can hear the rattle, so I know it's not making contact at all. Or if I can actually pop the battery out for a different kind of a design, a MOSFET mod, I will do that. I do not really want to depend on the built-in safety features of MOSFET mods, because I'm seeing way too many cases of auto fires. Like I said in the previous video, I didn't think it will happen to me. It did happen to me. And I thank God that it could have been a whole lot more worse. Just another 5 more minutes and I think the battery would probably overheated or vented or even exploded, and that would have been a huge mess. Now I did suffer some things, some emotional stress from the auto fire incident. Number one is I just lose trust in MOSFET mods, regardless of the hype. You know, like I said, most of the hype, it's it's untested. It's not been tested by a third party. In some cases, reverse polarity protection is absolute bullshit. So how much can you trust the people who are making these, that they're actually telling you the truth? So with a Mac mod, you know, when you're not using it, you remove your batteries and then regularly you clean your contacts. I recommend that you do it for the MOSFET mods as well, right? The contacts, yeah, you need to clean them regularly, but mostly just get a paper towel and soak up the liquid from the 510 area, remove your squonk bottle, and you can actually look inside, and you can actually put your paper towel all the way inside, regardless of how the shape is. Even if it's like this and you don't want to, you can remove the bottle and put a paper towel or cotton swab inside to soak up all the liquid every time you use it. Now if you're not going to use it, if you're going to not use it overnight, again, remove the battery. And if you are not going to use it for long periods of time, please do not leave your RDA soaked, your cotton soaked with juice on the MOSFET mod, because that just gives it a lot of time for the juice to find its way to your MOSFET mod and just pool in some places and just get sticky and messy. That's the best advice I can give you if you want to get a MOSFET mod. Treat it like a Mac mod. Forget about any of these advanced safety features. Yeah, they're useful, but don't depend on them. Don't depend on it being safe. So am I saying that you should not get MOSFET mods? Not really, not really. Just as long as you know what you're getting into, what are the problems that can probably happen, right? And auto fire is actually one of the worst things that can happen. But the board could also malfunction if it's one of those failed boards that were not detected by the modder, etc. After a while of use, it could stop working. And Chinese-made MOSFETs are not really that much safer either. Like I've seen from the Wismac Luxottic PH Philippines group, dedicated to Wismac Luxottic Squonk mod. That's how popular it is. It's a very good mod actually. It's a very good, affordable, unregulated MOSFET driven mod. But it has issues as well. And I've seen pictures in a group where the Wismac Luxottic mods also auto fire, and they are also, the board again is not liquid proof. I mean, liquid is most probably the biggest enemy of the MOSFETs, right? It can cause all kinds of problems. And like I said before, in a squonk mod, the position where the MOSFETs are located, including the Luxottic, is just like you're just begging for it to happen. Now, of course, things are going to get better in the future. The Limelight group, for example, has released the RAM chip, the RAM mod. I think that is in response to many people complaining about auto firing on the Gloom Time and Bliss. So the new generation RAM chips were designed specifically to solve that issue, and it is by default waterproof, and it has complete reverse polarity protection as well. So it's not one of those fake polarity protection that you see in the SwitchFat, ClickFat, and Bomber Pro. It's actual reverse battery protection. But for now, I would say if you want to buy a MOSFET mod, go ahead and do it, as long as you know that you should not treat it any different than you would a mechanical mod. You should have that little bit of fear like you would with mechanical mods, so that you pay attention and remove your batteries. Now, the MOSFET is a part of it. It helps to, you can create lots of nice shapes if you have a MOSFET instead of a mechanical mod, because you do not have to worry about the positive and the negative contacts and how to bend it, etc. You can get lots of different designs. So it's not like it shouldn't exist at all. It should get a whole lot better than what it is right now. At the moment, what we are being sold is just a untested by third party, and sometimes a little bit of bullshit in there, and that's what we're getting. Well, that's all for this video. Hope you enjoyed it, and if you do, share, and remember to click like, and remember to click subscribe. Okie dokie, no more smoky.